you considered the messages your outfits send? What do you think your clothes say about you? See, style is about the clothes, but it's not really about the clothes. Every day you make choices about what you're going to wear, but what are you communicating? Welcome to Above and Beyond Style. I'm your host, Maria DiLorenzo, and in 2019, I founded MFD Style, where I provide a unique, intuitive approach to personal styling for those ready to embrace a more meaningful look. With this podcast, I'll uncover key elements of where spirituality, psychology, and style intersect, revealing how you can make intentional wardrobe choices that reflect who you really are. So let me ask you, are you ready to transform into your authentic self? Then it's time. Come with me on this journey, and together we'll take your style above and beyond style. Hey friends, welcome back to Above and Beyond Style. So last week, I had some really interesting responses to a question that I posed in my episode all about the psychology of authentic style. And I wanted to hear from you all, my listeners, about what gets you off track. Like, what are the things that maybe get in the way of really building that authentic style, or just maybe inhibit you in a way that just doesn't even want you to get started in some ways. And so I loved it because I got some really interesting responses. And today's episode, I wanted to spend some time echoing those back to you because I think they're really important to share with all of us, because even if you didn't have a chance to circle in and let me know kind of what your thoughts were, I'm wondering if some of these responses will also resonate with you. And my goal, especially with this kind of whole season and this whole focus on style pitfalls, I'm hoping that you're going to find some momentum or some power that is connected to what are the right next steps that you could take to really help you get back on track, or just get on track, period, if you weren't even on track ever to begin with. And that to me feels like an important stepping stone, because I think you're going to hear in some of these responses, we often can be disabled in this process of authentic style. I think there's lots of things that get in the way, as we've discussed from all these various episodes. And a lot of it has to do with mindset. That was the other piece too that, I didn't spend an entire episode talking about, but there was kind of an overall theme up in there about how people approach and come to this process. And I've always said this, likewise with my other fellow stylist friends that I talk to, and we kind of talk a little bit about, what are you seeing? What are some of the feelings that you're hearing from your clients? We often echo that sentiment of like, if a client isn't really mindfully ready to work with us as stylists, there's just not a whole lot we can do sometimes. There's not a magic wand. I'm not a fairy godmother. Like, you've got to come to the table having done some of this preliminary work about preparing yourself and getting yourself kind of ready for what it takes to do this work. And I think sometimes that mindset is maybe not overlooked, but is kind of minimized because there is so many other competing factors. So remember that in the theme of all of these various kind of threads that I'm going to talk through today, remember that element about mindset and about where you hold the responsibility and actually you hold the power to really transform your personal style into an authentic personal style at any juncture. Remember when I've talked about style resolutions, that it doesn't have to be a resolution that begins at a calendar year. You can literally begin anytime you're ready. Whether that's today, tomorrow, 3 months from now, or maybe next year, it is available to you at any time. And I hope that as we've talked through these pitfalls, you will start to see not just momentum to getting started, but to feel that empowerment, to feel like you've got the confidence to do what's necessary to really help develop and grow that authentic style. So let me talk a little bit about some of the themes and responses that I heard when I posed this question to you about What gets you off track? What do you think your style pitfalls are? And as promised, I'm going to keep all of these anonymous, but you're going to find the really exciting part for me was there were a lot of overlapping themes. And that helps me know that if you're feeling alone in this process, or if you're feeling like, gosh, I must be the only person that is faced with this thought process or this challenge or obstacle, I want to really affirm for you that you're not alone. There were multiple themes that were repeated when I got some responses from you. And I think that should hopefully validate that this process can be challenging for many of us. And I'm hoping that by hearing some of these responses today, you're also going to feel just as empowered to kind of take the right next step, because there are many of you in the same kind of shoes. So let's start with some of the most common responses that I heard. And I'm literally taking these sort of word for word, because I do think it's important that you hear what other peers or other people are feeling and are expressing when I've posed this question. I don't know where to go. Now, I think this point has to do with where to shop, where to find things, where to really hone in on not just what their authentic style is, but maybe they've already got that identified, but they don't know where to go to find the things that are reflective of their style. And you're right, that can be a big challenge for a lot of people because inventory is all over the place. I don't need to be the first to tell you that, not only in store, but online. Not everybody loves to shop, so that might be another kind of hurdle that's connected to I don't know where to go. And I think sometimes when you feel perhaps paralyzed by this whole concept of I don't even know where to go, it goes hand in hand with the second sentiment that I heard about I don't know where to start. And I think in many ways, you know this, when you're going into something new or you are beginning a project or a process, sometimes that first step is the hardest one to take. And so not really having clarity about what is the right place to start or where is the right place to start often just allows you not to start at all. So again, you're kind of in that same perhaps stuck place. And I'm going to get back to that word and that feeling again, because stuckness came up in more than one way. So you don't know where to go and you don't know where to start. Now, part of the reason I'm helping identify some of these style pitfalls is to help you problem solve how to transform or to realign yourself or redirect and get yourself back on track. Now, I didn't intend for this theme or this season to really come to this point. It was sort of a natural evolution, I guess, over the course of this season. But what I'm finding is this is actually one of the main reasons why you might hire a personal wardrobe consultant or a stylist or an image consultant. We call ourselves all lots of different titles, but the idea is that if you don't know where to go or you don't know where to start, sometimes hiring a professional might be the right next step for you to help you get that beginning step, to help you really begin by identifying the stores, the brands, the labels, the fabrications, whatever it is that you feel like you might need to get yourself on track. Hiring somebody that is in my space might actually be the right solution for you, because this is what we do. We have a lot of that baseline knowledge as we get to know you and understand some of your challenges or various obstacles, that we can help then point you in the right direction about, well, here's a great brand you might want to try, or here's a store that I know will be really gentle on you when you go and you pick out certain things and try them on. The sales associates are great, or, whatever the details are. It sounds like that additional level of support and information might be a really important factor to getting you started. The other piece that comes out of this that, again, I think a lot of these themes are related, but I'm just going to kind of pinpoint them so you can hear what the specific kind of listener intel, if you will, about what gets you off track. The third thing I heard was that you get overwhelmed at the options. So what you end up doing is you sort of fall back with what you know. And I think there's a lot of truth to that for people, especially if you're not a shopper, you're not somebody who enjoys the pursuit of and the find. I think that having a lot of options at your fingertips can really overwhelm you and in many cases shuts you down, so that authentic style process doesn't even feel remotely interesting or exciting. And it really, again, goes back to that word about being paralyzed or stuck, right? And so that I feel stuck was also the fourth sentiment that I heard. And what it then does is it allows you to fall back into familiar patterns of perhaps what you had been wearing or had been feeling. And so there's kind of this cycle that maybe you tried, you got out there, you're looking at options, but there's too many and you didn't know what to choose, you didn't know where to start. So again, you got stuck and perhaps paralyzed in that process. So I really feel and empathize with these sentiments, you guys, because I think a lot of people feel this. And again, not only just to validate you, but to encourage you to know that there is a place to start. And if I can offer you the fact that working with somebody in my space might be the right solution for you, or at least have an initial conversation. Many of my fellow stylists, including myself, we offer these free 30-minute kind of intakes or consultations so that we can hear a little bit about what your challenges are, and perhaps then could make some suggestions about here's the services or the steps that we might take if we work together to help you get out of that cycle. The fifth thing that I heard was about your proportions or your body type. And I think this is something that, again, super common. Really want to validate and affirm this for folks because our body types and our proportions can sometimes be tough to dress off the rack. I heard from folks who have long torsos or short torsos. I heard from others that are petite in height, but in sizing, they are wearing like a 10, 12, or 14 in their size. So petite clothing sometimes from a size range doesn't allow them the options that they really need for their body proportions. So this is the other piece about personal style that I do believe that someone like me or in my shoes can help you find the right brands or the right companies that might be suitable for the proportions of your body. And I really want to reaffirm and remind you the power of a good tailor, because so many of us can't dress from literally off the rack. I can't always go to the store and have something perfectly fit me right off the rack. And so having someone who can tailor or really be that seamstress or somebody like at the dry cleaners even, because they can often do a lot of those kind of easy tweaks to your clothes. I think it's important to have that person in your pocket because they can help make your clothes fit you according to your body type. And I've said this before, and I want to remind you that the problems here are about the clothes and not your body. I think for many, many, many years, we have been conditioned to believe that if our bodies are not fitting the clothes, there's something wrong with us. And I think that gets to be a very dangerous narrative that is being recycled in our brains and our minds and ultimately in our hearts. And I think that can get into some tricky territory for self-esteem and self-worth. And so I really want to remind you that the clothes are the problem, not your body. So whatever proportions your body has that you're dealing with or you're working with, remember that clothes can be made to fit your body accordingly. And if they don't fit perfectly off the rack, there are lots of ways, talented people in the world that can help you get those clothes to fit your body in better proportions. The sixth thing I heard was about comfortability. And this is an interesting thing because when I talk with a lot of clients that are doing that kind of free consult and they're expressing to me what they're looking for or what they hope to have, I often hear this. I really want my clothes to feel comfortable, not too tight, not too restrictive. And what ends up happening when I do that is I end up looking frumpy. And what's correlated to that then is the seventh thing I heard was about wanting to look pulled together. And I don't always feel like my clothing allows that like kind of complete look. And so comfort and being pulled together are two themes that definitely I'm hearing from you and can get in the way, because if you are associating comfort with a particular maybe fabric or style, and it's not translating to that pulled together vibe that you're looking for, I totally understand how that can land you in a place where you feel frumpy. So these are very important connections, again, going back to your personal preferences and getting clear about what those preferences are around your clothing. Comfort is something that many people want. Feeling cute or feeling attractive or feeling, like I said, flexible in your clothing so that you're not having to pull or tug or, kind of reshape something because of the way it's falling on your body. I want to really remind you that there are lots of ways to have comfort in your clothing but not look frumpy. And a lot of that has to do with helping you understand the properties of different fabrications or different garment, like the way different garments are constructed, that can help you look for those particular characteristics in your clothing. Again, I'm going to harken back. I don't really mean to be doing this every time, but I'm going to harken back to the professionals, to those who sit in my space of wardrobe consultation, who can help you make some of those educated choices or decisions about here are some great options around brands that are doing soft, beautiful, comfortable fabrics, but are also allowing perhaps more of that pulled together vibe that you're looking for so that you don't feel stuck. Remember, again, that you don't feel disabled by not finding the things you're finding, or you're leaning back into old patterns of what you already have. And so it's not really working for you and you don't really know. Again, I'm going to circle all the way back to, I don't know where to go and I don't know where to start, right? These are all interrelated. The next theme I heard about had to do, interestingly enough, with shoes. And I think this is a good one because shoes, in many cases, I think particularly if you are a minimalist or you're someone that's really not wanting to have a ton of options and want to maximize your clothes, which I fully support, maximize your clothes for the maximum number of kind of events or circumstances in your life. And someone expressed to me that she was looking for like one pair of shoes to fill multiple purposes, mostly for simplicity's sake. But for many reasons, she's realized that she's not able to do that all the time. And so what I'm hearing in this particular intel or piece of intel from the listener was about managing your expectations too, about recognizing that sometimes there isn't a one size fits all kind of category for these things. So if you want one pair of shoes to serve you for your day-to-day running around and a special event, that may be trickier to find, right? And so being able to be flexible with some of your expectations around wardrobe does help open you up to new options. Doesn't mean you have to compromise your values or your desires for simplicity in this instance, but it does mean that you might have to look at it with a different perspective or consider some different options. And I think that flexibility and mindset can serve you throughout this process when you're thinking about your authentic style and trying not to get stuck in these particular beliefs or patterns or habits that is not allowing you to really grow and evolve as you want to. And interestingly enough, the last comment I got had to do about perception of age. And this is one that I'd probably like to spend more time digging into this. So I'll just do kind of a surface conversation with you at this stage. But the comment was about when this person went to events. She felt that, again, this is perception, that she was looked at weirdly. That was her word. And her perception was that she thinks she dresses much older than she is. And the counter of that was she doesn't want to look too young or kind of age inappropriate. And I think that is a real style pitfall for some people because, boy, if you are paying attention to the trends right now, it's tough to sort of find where you fit in the midst of a lot of things happening. So, for example, we're seeing a resurgence of like 80s and 90s style. And for any of us that were alive the first time that style came around, perhaps it doesn't feel quite as comfortable for you to be dressing in a manner that you've already been through, like you've already lived through those trends. So there's always a little bit of that. Does this suit me for where I am at my life right now? Does this particular look, does the way this falls on my body, whether it's the length of the hem, is it too short? Is it too long? Are the proportions? Showing arms sometimes can be an area where I hear a lot about age appropriateness and not necessarily wanting to show too much skin, right? There's a lot of different factors that go into apparel and wardrobe and how you feel quote unquote age appropriate in your clothes. And this can be a real style pitfall for some folks. And I really feel like some of the counteractions or the ways to kind of help navigate in and around that perhaps that belief is one, to recognize that you can wear whatever you want to wear. I want to really dispel any belief around that you can't wear certain things. I feel fervently that people who want to embrace a personal style and really want to be in a kind of flair, a vibe of their clothing should go for it. I am not somebody who wants to impose rules on people. I want to really help you navigate, like, what is your style? Help you get clear about that, and then help you find the clothes that really balance that connection between age appropriateness and what you want to kind of put out in the world by way of your personal style. And again, I'm going to harken back to using a professional. Like, really lean into some of these. Like, if you need to get your sink fixed or there's a plumbing problem, you call a plumber, right? You call someone who is an expert or has the expertise and the skill that you're looking to solve for your problem. I feel very similarly about service providers like myself, where we can help you solve some of these problems. And it's not about necessarily coming to like full resolution. It's always a process and it's always an evolutionary process. But it's about helping you take the first right steps to get you on track. Because remember, this is all about what gets in the way. What are those pitfalls that perhaps disable you or get you off track or paralyze you or make you feel stuck? And I really feel strongly that if you partner with someone who can help you get started and point you in the right direction, you might find some beautiful momentum to get you back on track or to get you on a track that actually feels connected and authentic to you. So the funny part of this episode, and I'm curious if any of these resonated with you, some of this feedback or some of these statements that I heard from you as listeners, do they also resonate for you? And if they are, I want to affirm for you that there are solutions out there. And I want to affirm for you that you're not alone. A lot of people feel this way about their personal style, and finding maybe just that micro step, that baby step to help you take the step in the right direction is all you need to get started. It doesn't have to be this grand, sweeping gesture that's going to take over all your time and energy and money and effort, that perhaps you can have some very small things with perhaps the guidance of someone like myself or other fellow stylists to get you on track. So friends, I hope this particular season has given you some encouragement, has perhaps validated some things that happen for you, because it can be tricky out there with these style pitfalls, right? And I'm just going to remind you that this season, that there are lots of things that can get in the way. We talked about buying for the sale, being a little too close to a sale and enticed by a sale, the shopping itch, always wanting something new and fresh, being influenced or recognizing the power of suggestion by other people, those what if scenarios, holding on to clothes or things for circumstances that may or may not actually ever happen, buying too much, maybe being that multiple shopper where you have so many options of the same thing that it's confusing you or getting in the way. Talked about the reserved only section, that section of your clothes that perhaps you only keep for certain circumstances, and it doesn't actually end up translating into like a full everyday style. We talked about things that may be too hard to handle, like particular garments that don't feel like they're easy to care for or manage, whether they have to be dry cleaned or in some way that might be getting in the way. We talked about the pressure to belong. Perhaps there's a style or a look in your neighborhood or your community that is overly influencing your style. And so it's maybe taking shape by, again, going back to that power of suggestion, what other people are wearing versus really owning and really coming into full kind of comfort with your own style in the midst of others. The maximalist, the minimalist, and the moderate. We talked about these ends of the spectrum that can sometimes be, in my wording, in my choice of words around this, is around the rules are too extreme. And so maybe authentic style then can live in this moderate kind of in the middle space. So I've given you a lot of different topics this season about what gets you off track and what are these style pitfalls. But I want you always to know that authentic style starts with you. It truly does. It's the beginning place of all of this, about knowing who you are, knowing the person that you want to put out into the world, and not being afraid to show it in whatever way that looks. And allowing some support, perhaps by someone like me, to help you really hone that style, to get really clear about it, to come into integrity about it, and to really feel that sort of internal success. Like, I've gotten to this place where I feel connected to who I am. I feel really good about the ways that I want to express that through my clothing and my wardrobe, and I want to show up for my life in a way that allows me to be the best version of myself. So remember, that's always the goal, friends. We're trying to create this authentic style for each of us so that we can really live our best lives and be our best who we are. And I want to know, and I want to get to experience more people in this world that are really coming into integrity about those things. So I hope you've enjoyed this season. This is going to wrap up season 3. And I'm very excited about what's coming for season 4. But know that I'm never too far away. I'm always eager to hear from you. I will very much still be active on social media platforms, and actually as a guest in some other people's podcasts. So you might be hearing episodes with me coming up soon here too. But just know that Above and Beyond Style is here for you. We've got 3 amazing seasons full of incredible content that is for you to soak up, to digest, and to really grok in a way that sits with you and carries you forward into your life. So friends, thank you for listening, and I will be back with you so very soon. Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed what you've heard, I would appreciate you taking the time to leave a review on the podcasting platform you're using and share this episode with others who you think might really enjoy these conversations about personal style. For more information all about MFD Style services, you can find me on the web at mfdstyle.com, on Instagram at mfd_style, where I post almost 5 days a week, or send me an email at maria@mfdstyle.com. I also have a weekly email I send to subscribers, so I will include the link to that sign up in the show notes. So until next time, friends, remember to love yourself and then love yourself some more.